How you doing, Sully?
Good, man. We just had an outstanding segment with Kevin Minnick. Sort of you're one of his proteges, I guess you might say, right?
Absolutely. I'd be, proud to be called one, honestly. Kevin's meant so much to me in a couple of years here, being in South Jersey, learning the ropes and learning the area. It's certainly he certainly did a ton for me. There's no doubt about it.
Mark, talk a little bit about Kevin's career there at the Courier-Post. Just a tremendous job. He almost became an entity unto himself in all he did for the football, the basketball, the baseball. I mean, he has his own following.
Yeah, I don't think it's any doubt. To understand the popularity that he enjoyed from hard work, and knowing so much about so many different things in the area. Kevin's a walking encyclopedia of South Jersey sports, and his Twitter following, being on things like your show. I mean, this is all points to it. But the thing with Kevin is that I think what stood out to me the most is that Kevin Minnick will do his job any day of the week at any hour, and no matter how much time it took him or any extra thing he had to do, there was never a complaint. Kevin works as hard as anybody I've ever met in my life. It was unbelievable.
I think that's one thing that maybe high school fans, I don't want to say they don't appreciate, but I'm sure they do, to a certain level. But with guys like myself, you, Kevin Minnick, Mike McGarry, I mean, this is a passion of ours that we kind of live it. We could be up at 11 o'clock at night and thinking about the next day, the game we're going to cover, and what kind of stories we want to write. So it's something that's always on the front of your mind. And to be a high school sports writer, you're so involved with not only the teams, but the coaches, the players, the parents. I mean, you see these people day in and day out, and it becomes part of your life.
Well, this is something that I was just talking to somebody about the other day, actually, is that when you get to this point, all of us, we're here for a reason. We grew up loving sports, for the most part, I would imagine. We remember being a little kid, opening the sports pages. We remember, talking at the barbershop about sports or what have you. It means a lot to sports fans. And we can tell when something's not covered properly, or when we need more information, when we don't have the right stat, or, it's not being aligned correctly for us to understand it the way it should be. And we take that responsibility on ourselves when we work. I speak for myself. That's kind of how I see it. Like, you could be a news reporter and have never been somebody who used to go to school board meetings. You could cover county courts and had never been to a court trial before you do that. When you're a sports writer because at some point in your life you love sports and you knew the importance that held in your life. And you go the extra mile for it, because you know what it means. And it's more than just 7.5 hours a day.
Talking with Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Mark, outstanding summary there of Kevin Minnick's time at the Courier-Post. Let's turn our attention to some softball here. Give us your thoughts on the season so far and what we're looking at here in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think we're looking at teams that they want to be on point as the playoffs start. Certainly, the postseason's rapidly approaching, and to look at the way some of these teams are playing, we're seeing some schools hit their stride. I can think of Shawnee. I think in Group 4 really seems to be getting things going. Washington Township's playing a little bit better year after their loss to EHT a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of RV, I think Rancocas Valley and Egg Harbor Township are probably the best of the best right now. It's especially in Group 4. So you're looking to see who doesn't shoot themselves in the foot or can keep that momentum going right now. Sometimes treading water is good enough.
Yeah, Mark, talk about Egg Harbor Township a little bit. I was out there, saw them beat Millville this week 3-2, and outstanding job they're doing with a lot of new parts from last year's team that went 24-1. They have about half the team back, but they've also dealt with some pretty key injuries. I know Chris McElhenney, the starting shortstop, went down with a hamstring injury. Bree Lagarteria, the left fielder from last year, she's been dealing with some leg injuries, and really had some players step up, and to see them at 12-0 is pretty impressive considering the new players they have and the injuries they've been dealing with.
Yeah, I think this is the fourth time in the last 2 years that they've beaten Millville by one run. I think it's incredible, and I think it says a lot about certainly the youth programs down there, and certainly the job Mary Dunlap's done, that you have a team as good as it is, and outside of a couple kids, this is not. It's not like their reputation precedes them. You know what I mean? They did have a lot of girls back off last year's team, but they lost three very important leaders, senior leaders who are fantastic players. I think they all went on to play in college. So for them to be able to put together this type of season, they proved it against Millville twice. They pounded Washington Township. They handled Cherokee on the road earlier this week. They really are the team to beat. I mean, they're the team of the last couple of years here, and I would love to see them play Rancocas Valley in the playoffs, because I think both are very well-rounded, can score runs and play good defense also. So, but certainly Group 4 is wide open also.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you talk about Rancocas Valley. Eastern's not a team we can look past. I mean, that's going to be a heck of a playoff sectional.
Off the top of my head, you go Eastern, Cherokee, Shawnee, Washington Township, Kingsway, those two, RV, EHT, Millville, possibly Vineland. There are so many good teams in Group 4. And, last year, as you remember, that was the one that really had the most excitement down the stretch with the Eastern and Washington Township. They beat them at the last play, and then Eastern and Egg Harbor Township. I always like to see where the chips fall in that group with these big schools.
How about Group 3 real quick? Anybody jumping out at you?
Well, I like the way Mainland's been playing. I know we talk about them frequently. I do like the way they've been playing. I think Delsey's going to be right there when it's all said and done, at least in the semifinals or the championship. And Cumberland's turned it around. Cumberland had a very nice week. They did lose to Vineland this week, which is kind of a step back. But before that, they'd beaten Kingsway, who I had at number 2 in South Jersey last week. They beat them, which was a big win. They won 20-0 against Highland. They beat GCIT by a run in a close one. It seems like Cumberland really is starting to find its feet too, and kind of knowing its identity. Delsey, Cumberland, Mainland, GCIT. I think these are schools that, on any given day, they could beat anybody in Group 3.
Good stuff as always, Mark. We're up against the break. Got to let you go, but we appreciate you taking a few minutes, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, buddy.
Hey, Sully, thanks, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post.